Most inexperienced eBay sellers think that their results are being held back by high fees, slow sales, or the algorithm. But the truth is, it's not eBay's fault, it's yours. And today I'm going to prove it to you by challenging 3 of the biggest limiting self-beliefs that beginner eBay sellers have. Starting with the first one, eBay fees are a problem. Now, I wanted to start this video today by talking about this first limiting belief around eBay fees because I polled you guys on YouTube and I asked you what was your biggest concern with selling on eBay, and over 50% of the responses were that the eBay fees were too high. And let's face it, there are a lot of fees when it comes to selling on eBay. Depending on how your store is set up, you're going to have fees like the monthly store subscription, your selling fees, promoted listings, and then potentially even some optional listing upgrades. An example of this might be you have a store subscription and you pay $24.95 on a monthly basis. And then when you go to sell an item, depending on what this actual product is, you may range in fees between 8 to 13% worth of selling fees, and then obviously you're going to add some promoted listings on top of it at maybe 2 to 3%. This could work out to 16% worth of overall fees that you have to pay once the item goes on to sell. Now don't get me wrong, who likes paying fees? I know I don't. And it can kind of feel a bit like a kick in the pants when you go to sell an item and have to fork out a 16% fee just because they are the corporation that you chose to sell on. But I've actually got 5 reasons why I don't have a problem at all and have never had a problem over 5 years with the fee structure of selling on eBay. And I need to put this into contrast of trying to build, say, a Shopify store. If you were to go out on your own, build a website, and then try and get traffic to it to sell on, what would that situation look like in comparison to eBay? And that brings into the first talking point. You have got built-in traffic as an eBay seller. You've got a powerful opportunity to have millions of buyers that are circulating to try and potentially find an item that you are simply listing up to try and sell. If we were to try and build that Shopify store, we would have to go out and put advertising dollars in to try and get enough people to come around. Even though with a listing on eBay, we're putting that up for free, and then from there we can have people circulating and clicking on our products at absolutely no cost. So from an advertising perspective, we need to look at this like we're paying a fee to have the traffic circulating potentially find our item. Now this next one is probably the biggest one. You only pay when you make a sale. In what world are you able to go out and market your product for free and only pay a cost when you actually get a result out of it? If we had a Shopify store, we would be putting thousands of dollars into advertising just to get people to come to our website, and we have the complete risk that we may not ever sell an item. Yet we have to fork out all of that money. This is the total reverse. This is reverse marketing. We are literally being able to put out our item for a $0 down and then get a result out of it and then give them a thank you of 16% because they've found us a customer. They also handle all the hard stuff. They take care of everything. So your payment processing, your fraud prevention, your shipping integration, your dispute resolution. These are all things that you're ultimately paying for. It's the cost that you don't need to go ahead and build and organize and facilitate on something like a Shopify site. As much as that does happen on Shopify as well, you are paying for the portion of having that built in to an eBay business. But it's complete peace of mind that knowing all of the hard stuff is taken care of. You're also paying for trust, right? Like if you've got a big Shopify store and you're trying to market it and get people in, you don't have that brand and that reputation like you do with eBay. People buy freely on eBay because they know that they can trust the platform that they're buying from. So you as a seller with a mini little store that you're trying to sell goods out of, you'll technically have the backing of a brand like eBay for your buyer protection and brand protection. So this is a huge thing that many people are just simply not aware of. There's a reason why there are millions of people circling around the eBay platform, and that's because the brand has been established for over 30 years. If you're just trying to build a Shopify store, you have absolutely none of that, and it becomes really hard to build brand loyalty like you've already got built in with eBay. But this is probably my favorite one. It forces you to run a better business. It forces you to go out there and find better quality items, better in-demand items that are going to sell for a higher average sale price. Some elements that we're going to be talking about a little bit later in this video. But it makes you realize, okay, I am forced to have to pay this 15%. So how do I go out and buy product in relation to knowing that I've got that worth of an incurred cost? I think that's a big issue that we don't take into account. We get frustrated by the fees, but then our strategy doesn't sort of take that into account. And then therefore we're buying the wrong product because we're not making a lot of money once the fees have been taken out of it. One thing you don't want to be doing though is paying fees on an underperforming store. So I've developed a little 2-minute health check that you can do by scanning this barcode. It only takes a couple of minutes and it'll tell you exactly how your store is performing. From there, if you need any assistance, we have mentoring sessions available for that as well. Limiting belief number 2 is that you have a sales problem. And I'm here to say today that you don't have a sales problem. Nobody does. You have a sourcing sourcing problem. And these are some areas that we can really quickly fix as long as you've got some guidelines to be working towards when you're out there in the field. All too often, too many eBay sellers come to the conclusion that the algorithm's hiding their listings, the traffic's down because of the summer slowdown. That's one that really frustrates me. But then also buyers aren't spending like they used to. These are the common things that we always hear. But here's the truth. If your items aren't selling, it's not because of eBay, it's because people don't want to buy the things that you're trying to sell. And that's a really hard pill to swallow. You can't outlist bad sourcing, you can't photograph your way out of bad inventory, you can't SEO your way out of items that nobody's searching for. If your products don't have demand, no amount of effort is going to be able to fix that. And look, I've been there. I had a store size of 2,600 items a couple of years ago. I had $40,000 in sales to my name, but my issue was I was buying way too much and I was buying too many of the wrong items, and it was causing all my statistics and data to be out of whack. It wasn't in a great position. I was unfortunately working way too hard for the results that I was able to get. And if you have a look at my store size today, it is 1/3 of the store size that it was in 2023. My sales are literally half what they used to be in 2023, but I've made the same amount of revenue, $40,000 over the last 90 days. Now, I have not had to work equally as hard to be able to get the results that I had 2 years ago. I've actually worked half the amount of time to be able to achieve the same result. This is a massive unlock, and this is what also causes sell-through rate to go through the roof, because that is what's happening here. The data that you're seeing here, while the numbers of revenue is exactly the same, what's changed is my improvement on average sale price and sell-through rate. My average sale price has skyrocketed because I now have 600 items that have been able to sell for $40,000 versus 1,100 items that sold for $40,000 2 years ago. So there's a huge discrepancy there in the product selection that I'm now taking. The product selection for me is all about average sale price and then how quickly can it turn over. My goal is to try and convert between a 30 and a 60-day time window, and my stats on eBay show that I pretty much turn my entire store over every 90 days. But that is my entire store. So a lot of these items are converting at that 30 to 60 day sort of a time limit, and that is a much more efficient store. So my sales are now not a problem because I'm simply sourcing so much better. Now, one of the biggest unlocks for me came when I realized that the algorithm actually doesn't punish you for listing less items. As long as your average sale price matches what you used to be doing worth of listing volume, you're going to be completely fine and you're going to still sell exactly the same as you used to. A really good example of that is if I was to list up 10 $10 products, that's $100 worth of value. If I list up one $100 product, that is still $100 worth of value. In the eyes of eBay, they don't care. Did you list 10 items? Did you list one? It doesn't matter. You've listed $100 on both situations, so the algorithm is going to feed both stores equally. Because you've got to remember, eBay are a business themselves, and we spoke before about the eBay fees. They're going to make 15% off every single one of your sales, so they don't care if you list up 10 items versus one item, but you do, because there's so much more work involved in listing up 10 items compared to one. So that's a massive unlock for me 2-3 years ago. It's how my metrics changed to be able to still do $40,000 in revenue, but do it in half the time. So it's really important just to not blame eBay if you're not making sales. You need to really step yourself back and have a look at your buying habits when you're out and about. Are you doing research when you're in a thrift store or a garage sale or a flea market before you buy the item? Do you show or see that there's proven track record that that item has gone on to previously sell? Is the sell-through rate decent enough for you to want to even go ahead and buy the item and sit down and list the item up for sale? Is the average sale price of the item deemed to be something that you're going to be able to profit on based on the price that you're seeing it to be purchased at? Are you negotiating with your buyers to be able to get a deal that's going to be a better situation for you on a profitability front when you go to list it up onto eBay? These are all the different nuances when it comes to sourcing that can really impact the entire game when you go to list it up onto eBay. So ask yourself those questions before you make a purchase and do it strategically. Don't think you just got to buy everything and try and list everything, because that's not the answer. Which ties in perfectly to limiting belief number 3. You need thousands of items to build a successful eBay business. Now, this one was a really common issue for me. Like I said, I built my store up to 2,600 items because that was my strategy back in the day. I thought the more I list, the more that I sell, and that was just simply going to work out over time, and it proved not to be the case. I was able to grow my sales, but I wasn't able to grow my profit as efficiently as I could have if I did step 2 and I sourced better. So when it came to listing, I was just listing up like crazy. I just thought a new listing was going to work itself out. It was going to be found at some point. A buyer was going to come along at some point and snap up the item. But there were so many key elements of my listings that I was getting wrong back in the day. And that is exactly what limiting beliefs are caused by. That people are thinking that they need thousands of items listed to get a heap of return in sales. And it's not the case. You can literally have a 100 item eBay store that produces 200, 300, 400 sales within a 90-day period. And there are little things that these sellers are doing that the beginner sellers are totally unaware of. And a lot of that are things to do with titles, to do with your photos, how you price up your items, what item specifics you put in there, how you're structuring things like returns. Do you offer returns to begin with? Are you promoting your listings? Are you then tweaking your store with store maintenance? There's so much with regards to actually managing your eBay store that so many of us neglect and we just don't bother with. We think that by listing the item live, we are just simply done with that item until it goes on to sell. But you've got to remember that the successful eBay sellers, they're nurturing their store. They're tinkering with their store on almost a daily basis. They're putting new listings into their store. Then they're making sure that their titles have all of the front-ended keyword information possible. They've got 6 photos or more in their listing. They're showing any blemishes in the photos. Then when they come to the price points, they're doing a ton of pricing research to see, out of the solds, what should I price mine up for? Probably the middle or the bottom 25%, depending on my journey as a seller. That's going to make my price point competitive. Then they're going to go ahead and add some promoted listings onto that, 2 to 3%, not worrying about the eBay fees that are associated to that. And then that completely built-in listing is so dialed in that they would stand a really good chance of having it to go on to sell between that 30 to 60 days. But it's always not the case. And sellers know this. The successful sellers are then going to go and tweak that listing after 30 or 60 days with a slight price change. They might drop the price, they might change the title, they might go and add 1 or 2 extra photos. And this is a big algorithmic boost in the algorithm for eBay's algorithm to go and promote it again for a fresh 30 to 60 days worth of an opportunity. Brings us on to the sell similar approach. They'll go ahead and they'll end the listing, make a tweak to the listing, and then re-end and sell similar the item so it's got a brand new item number. This is a huge opportunity to generate even more sales and build up a really nice consistent bank of sales with a very small number of active listings, because you don't need to list up thousands. You just need to make the listings that you do have really, really good on the back of the limiting belief number 2, having a great product. So all of these discussion points are limiting beliefs. They're mindset shifts that we need to make to then put ourselves into the best possible position to be able to dominate on eBay. Remember, if you're struggling with anything on eBay, it is just a you thing that you need to go and educate yourself about to be able to make it work. This platform has been around forever. There are a lot of people making a lot of really good money, and the only difference between them and you is a skill gap. It's literally just a knowledge gap that you can learn over a short period of time if you do it right. Reaching out to people, asking for assistance. I offer mentoring sessions all the time, and I'm giving people really, really proven statistics and metrics within their store that they can go away and work on to be able to get the desired outcome for themselves in the future. So if you're interested in that, link is in the description, but it's all about changing that perceived mindset. It's not doom and gloom. eBay isn't to blame. We just need to upskill ourselves and get better at the process. And if we do, we're going to be successful eBay sellers as well. So appreciate you tuning into this video, guys. I'm going to leave you with this video right here, which was another tips video with a bunch of eBay tips to help you on your eBay journey. Look forward to seeing you over there for that one.